He founded Bitcoin Nordic in 2012 as one of the first and largest European Bitcoin brokers, where he served as CEO until the company was sold in 2014. Since then, he is the Chief Product Officer of the buyer, Coinify. A warm welcome to Lasse Birk Olesen.
Thank you. After decades of intense research and development, a mysterious new technology emerges. Established players first ignore it, then ridicule and shame it. But soon, products, companies, and entire industries emerge to commercialize it and bring it to the mainstream. Later, many people wonder why the powerful promise of this technology wasn't more obvious from the start. Which technology am I talking about? The personal computer in the 70s, the internet in the 90s, and I think Bitcoin today. So today I'm going to tell you how Bitcoin can change money, payments, finance, even the Internet of Things. But first, let's see a few other people who also see a lot of potential. Bitcoin is a technological tour de force. It is better than currency, said Bill Gates. I am a big fan of Bitcoin, said Al Gore. And Bitcoin is a remarkable achievement, and the ability to create something that is not duplicable in the digital world has enormous value, said Eric Schmidt, chairman of Google. So what are these guys talking about? What is Bitcoin? Since 1980, computer scientists have been researching how to get thousands of computers in a network to all agree on a specific state of a system. But it wasn't until 30 years later, when Bitcoin came in 2009, that a practical solution was found. Bitcoin's solution, Bitcoin's technological breakthrough, is the concept of the blockchain. The blockchain is a public journal of every Bitcoin transaction that has ever happened since the beginning of Bitcoin in 2009. And it can look something like this. Peter sends 10 Bitcoins to Alice. Alice sends 2 Bitcoins to Bob. Alice sends 4 Bitcoins to Charlie. And so on, and so on. And this public journal is shared with everyone participating in the Bitcoin network. So if someone tries to break the system, for instance by creating counterfeit Bitcoins, the rest of the network can see in the public journal that these fake units do not have a legitimate history, so they can reject these new units. And so for the first time ever, millions of people all over the world can now send pieces of digital property to each other in a way that is guaranteed to be safe and secure, and that everyone can verify is correct. All this without relying on expensive middlemen or centralized institutions, but simply using math and peer-to-peer communication in an open system. So, let's look at one of the problems that Bitcoin solves. According to Goldman Sachs, card payment transaction fees amount to 125 billion euros every year. And then businesses lose another 80 billion euros to card payment fraud. Those are huge numbers. And the reason we have this problem is that payment cards were invented in the 1950s. Imagine if you drove a car from 1950. It would have neither airbags or neck rests or even seat belts. It would be a very unsafe car. Yet today, we're still using technology from the 1950s to protect our money and payments. Technology which was never designed for the internet. But one application of Bitcoin technology is money and payments designed for the internet. And in fact, many businesses have discovered this already. Like Hungary, where you can order takeaway food from 900 restaurants and pay in Bitcoin. You can buy computers from Dell and pay in Bitcoin. You can buy games and services from Microsoft and pay in Bitcoin. And Save the Children accepts Bitcoin donations. And today there are tens of thousands of other businesses accepting Bitcoins. And here are some of the advantages they see. Bitcoin payments cost less. If you're a merchant and you accept a payment of 100 euros with a credit card, you'll typically pay 3 euros in transaction fees. And then an average merchant will lose another 2 euros to card payment fraud, for a total of 5 euros. A core Bitcoin transaction costs just 2 euro cents, regardless of whether you're sending 1 euro or 1 million euros. And because a Bitcoin transaction contains no sensitive account information, payment fraud and chargebacks have been virtually eliminated. Bitcoin payments are also easier. When you pay with a card online, we've gotten used to the process, but actually, it's pretty difficult. You need to leave your computer, find your wallet, find your card, then you need to enter 16 digits of your card number, 4 digits of your expiration date, 3 digits from the backside of your card, and then if you're shopping internationally, you need to enter an additional 3D secure password to verify the payment. That's a lot of steps, and it loses a lot of customers. Paying with Bitcoin is just 2 steps. You click a button on the website, you enter your password, and then you're done. Accepting Bitcoin payments, you can also get paid from any of the 200 countries in the world, because Bitcoin is born global. And this was a bit about Bitcoin and payments, but this leads me to the next problem that Bitcoin solves. So now meet Ronald, who lives in Kampala, in Uganda. Normally, Ronald would pay about 9% in transaction fees when sending money abroad or receiving money from abroad. But now with Bitcoin, anyone with a simple phone can send and receive payments from anywhere else in the world. So imagine the opportunity when everyone can do this. According to the World Bank, 50% of the global adult population do not have bank accounts. That's billions of people who cannot do electronic transfers. They have no access to loans or credit. And anyone with a simple knife can steal their cash savings. For the first time, with Bitcoin, these people can store their money safely, encrypted. They can send money to any country, and they can even get access to loans and credit from abroad. Bitcoin will change their lives. And I think the economic progress the world will see when half of the adult population joins the global economy will probably change everything else too. So that was Bitcoin in payments and financial inclusion. But it can do more. So this is Renato. He lives in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And he has an idea for a coffee business. But he needs $10,000 to build it. So he decides to crowdfund. Using a traditional crowdfunding service such as Kickstarter, Renato would pay 8% in processing fees. In return, he gets a trusted platform that promises to pay back investors if his project isn't fully funded. But Bitcoin can do this too. So now enter self-enforcing Bitcoin blockchain contracts, which are contracts that you can program to exercise a certain behavior given certain conditions. So for instance, Hinaro can create a contract with an account and ask people to fund it. If he reaches $10,000 within, say, 30 days, then the contract can automatically forward the money directly to Hinaro without any fees. On the other hand, if he doesn't reach his funding goal, then the contract can automatically return the money to the investors. And the beautiful thing about this is that the investors do not need to trust a third-party service such as Kickstarter, because they can read in this contract on the public journal on the blockchain that this is the behavior that will be exercised. This is what will happen automatically without relying on a company to do it or even a court system, because the network and the software itself does it automatically. So how is Bitcoin regulated? Bitcoin is still just 6 years old, so not every country has Bitcoin regulation yet, but Sweden, Germany, and the US are among the countries that already regulate Bitcoin companies today. And I think there's one thing that's very important to know about Bitcoin and regulation, and that is that Bitcoin is actually far from anonymous. So in the blockchain, in this public journal, every transaction that has ever happened since the beginning of Bitcoin is stored and recorded forever. And if someone wants to convert his Bitcoins into local currency, then the exchange company, such as ours, can link the physical identity of this person to a specific Bitcoin account. And in our company, we've actually on several occasions assisted the national police with using the blockchain to track and arrest criminals. You may also have heard stories in the media about how the Bitcoin price has been very volatile. And it's definitely true that Bitcoin is still a lot more volatile than most other currencies or commodities. But I think it's also important to know what kind of volatility that Bitcoin has already developed from. So in these past 2 years, we've seen Bitcoin go from about $100 to $1,100. That's a price difference of about 10x, quite volatile. But when I discovered Bitcoin in 2011, those were the wild days. We saw Bitcoin grow from 30 cents to $30 in just a few months. That was a price difference of 100x. So in the past 4 years, we've definitely seen Bitcoin volatility go down. And I think in another few years, we can expect it to be less volatile still. And in fact, I think it's very natural for any new commodity to experience a period of instability. So this chart shows the price of petroleum from 1861 to 1961. And petroleum was discovered and first traded in the middle of the 1800s. And as you can see, it saw extreme price volatility in the beginning. But as the market matured, and as people discovered just to what extent this new thing was useful, the price settled into a much more narrow range. And I think we can expect the same from Bitcoin. Also, banks and central banks can actually issue their own currency on the Bitcoin infrastructure. For instance, the European Central Bank could take a tiny unit of a Bitcoin and then give it a digital euro stamp. And then it could publicly declare that each of these stamped units represent exactly 1 euro. And now these units can be sent to anyone in the world with a Bitcoin wallet. So in this way, we can actually use Bitcoin as the world's most efficient payment system without having to use Bitcoin as a currency. In our company, it's our mission to integrate Bitcoin technology seamlessly with established financial institutions. And today we have a merchant payment gateway for physical and online stores that want to accept Bitcoin payments, but we can pay them directly into their bank accounts in euros, pounds, or dollars, or other currencies. We also have a customized payment service provider product for companies normally dealing with credit cards. And we're funded by both private investors and the Danish government. So now you know that Bitcoin is money, but you also know that it is so much more. In fact, saying Bitcoin is just money is sort of like saying the internet is just a fancy telephone. Bitcoin is a technology, and technologies tend to stay for a very long time. They cannot be uninvented. And today I've talked about just a few of the possible applications of Bitcoin technology. But there are many more, such as voting systems, data storage, communication, artificial intelligence. And in the whole space of Internet of Things, which this session is about, I think one of the things that have held back the Internet of Things is that things have been dependent on people for their maintenance and for their upkeep. If I went to my bank today and said, I want to create a bank account for my car, they wouldn't create it. Because today only people and companies can get bank accounts. But with Bitcoin, for the first time, things can get bank accounts. So in 10 years, when we all have these driverless cars, we could give a Bitcoin account to a taxi car that is self-driving. The passengers would pay the car directly in Bitcoin. The car could then go with its own Bitcoin account to the gas station and pay for its own gas. The car could go to a mechanic and pay for its own repairs. The car could even, when it's made a profit, go to a car dealer, buy another car, copy its own software to that car, and in that way create a whole corporation of its own. And all the other things that we use today could get their own bank accounts as well. So all these possibilities, I think, are incredible opportunities for financial institutions and technology companies today to build entirely new services using Bitcoin technology. And my last words will be the only two questions that are really left. Which applications do we build on top of Bitcoin technology? And who among you will become leaders in bringing it to consumers? Thank you.